Hey, what's up? You are listening to. I almost thought I was about to start the radio station. You're listening to Embrace the Madness. I'm your host, Madeline, and I'm recording in our studio. If you've been listening, Davis and I, my partner, have been like rearranging our house, and we like picked up every room and put it somewhere else. So it was like imperative that we had a 3 bedroom because I just wanted the space so we could have our own room and then also our bedroom. And so we started off having our own room, but now we kind of got to a point where we're like, oh, well, we can actually just, have our shared things in this room and our other shared things in this room and also our bedroom. Because, I mean, I guess things have changed since we moved in, but we're both kind of like, oh, well, we need an office space because we both are on the computer. And we also need kind of like a musical recording space because he plays music and we both are into podcasting. And I think it's cool to have a room completely dedicated to like writing music. So, yeah, we just finally like moved everything. He's actually in the other room right now. Yes, I'm recording while Davis is home. It does feel a little awkward because the reverb in here is actually more. And I don't know if that's just because it's small and the walls are bare, but yeah. But I sound checked and it should sound good. I'm talking pretty close to the microphone. And yeah, so thanks for tuning in. I'm excited to be back podcasting. I kind of wasn't podcasting regularly for maybe 2 years because I started this in November of 2019. So this year it'll be 3 years old. Holy shit. But yeah, this past year was just, it was like a big integration process. And so I think my energy was all over the place. 2020 was just, a hell of a year for all of us. And I feel like I'm just finally now getting my footing and getting my confidence back and all those things. So, today I wanted to talk about my journey with spirituality and religion because I feel like it's something that we all experience. I think it's very existential in that we all experience it. And it's kind of like it's like the ultimate question, like, what are we doing here? Why are we here? Who am I? These things that religion has said, hey, we have the answers. Spirituality's like, hey, look. And so I think we all experience religion in our lives at some point, whether you are, in civilized society or if you are in indigenous culture. Like everybody, this is very universal to us. We all experience, this question. And so I wanted to talk about that because I used to be an atheist. I used to be very not agnostic. I was like, no, there's no God. Like, this is all science based. This is what's happening. And so I think it's totally worth talking about because it's definitely shifted. I now believe that there is this higher power, whether it's personified or not, and there's some force that is keeping things going. Kind of like that metaphor. I think the God as like a watchmaker or a clockmaker, how how they say that he kind of just like creates this beautiful thing, he, she, they, this beautiful thing, this clock, and then like once you start it, it can just exist on its own. I think that's a cool metaphor. I'm not saying that's what I like believe because I haven't really thought about it like that, but I have heard of that metaphor before. So yeah, I just wanted to share that because I think we're all kind of like at some point in our life, who is God? Is God real? What does God mean? What is what does life mean? Is there heaven? Is there hell? Is there nothing? Like we all experience these questions at some point in our lives. So today we will talk about them, or at least my my experience with these questions. So basically, I didn't really grow up religious at all. And so I was baptized when I was a baby in the Methodist church. And basically, I'm trying to like recount because I was so small. I think we had gone to a Methodist church and then we moved out east because we needed a bigger house because my little sister was being born and I was like 5 or something. But basically, we didn't go back to church once we moved out there. I'm not really sure why. I'm not sure if it was like we didn't really find anything we liked or if it was just like well, this doesn't really serve a purpose in my life and all these things. And so I had never really explored existential things as a kid. Like I was never like, I don't know, maybe I repressed it, but I just don't remember thinking about like, is God real? I think just from a young age, he like God was never talked about. God was never, it just wasn't a thing. And I think like as I got older, my friend would be like, "Hey, do you want to come to Sunday school?" And I would go, and I didn't really like understand what was being taught. It was almost like I had kind of separated myself from, religious people, people that practice their religion. And so I don't really ever think I had established a relationship with Jesus, the Christian figure, or God, like God or anything. It just wasn't present. Not to my knowledge that I can remember. And I feel like sometimes my family talked about God. Like, I think my grandparents, I remember them talking about it a little bit, but it was always like, we never went to church. Like, I don't even remember. I could probably count on one hand how many times I went to church as a kid. It just wasn't a thing. And so, like I mentioned earlier, I never really thought about God or this higher power in my day to day life. So I just had grown up really thinking, like, okay, what's in front of me is what there is. Like, that's what there is. There's nothing else kind of mindset. And when I, when I went to Catholic high school, it was just interesting. I think from the time, because I didn't grow up with any religious influence, I think the time before high school, I mean, I think you know, thought about these things like, oh, well, I'm not a Christian, so I guess, I would do research. And I mean, it's like a 13-year-old saying that they're an atheist. Like, when you're 13, there's so much ahead of you. Like, and that's not to say that, you know, that's like a a poorly thought out decision. I'm just saying, like, at 13, just a lot changes. So I don't really think it mattered to me in terms of identity. And that's funny because I just never really thought about it as like an identity piece. But when my parents divorced and separated, I moved back out towards the city. And when I was going to schools, we had picked out a Catholic high school because my cousin had gone and, good reviews. Yelp said it was a good decision. I'm just kidding. But that was, I don't think it was like really, like it wasn't culture shock, but it also was. So like I went from having no religious affiliation, no background religious knowledge, to mass, which is church every Tuesday, and religion class every day, 5 days a week. So it was like very different, very different. I mean, and I was very intellectual and reflective. I mean, I still was who I am, my personality. So like I thought about these things in a logical way, and like I could rationally think about it, and I was just like, yeah, I just kind of like don't, God's not a part of my life. And the first day, I don't know if it was the first day of school or that first week, but like I started ninth grade brand new, not knowing any of these people, not knowing what the fuck Catholicism was. And other than what, my Methodist family had told me. And we have like this big communion for the whole school. And like, because I didn't know what was going on, I just was like, okay, well, this is a situation where I don't know what's going on. So I'm just going to do what everyone else is doing. Not realizing that there is a differentiation between who is supposed to take communion and who is not. And I just remember going up there, I take it, I eat the wafer, I drink the wine. Never had I done that before. And like this girl, I mean, it's my friend Madeline, but she didn't know me, and she was like, you're not supposed to take communion. You're not a Catholic. And like as a 14-year-old, that being my like initial experience, I was just like, what the fuck's happening here? And so I don't think I ever felt guilty, like because I didn't have a concept of hell. Like I didn't like just immediately assume like, oh fuck, I'm fucked. So yeah. So me, Catholic school, 4 years, it was a lot. And it was also interesting because, every teacher who's teaching religion has their own unique individual religious, spiritual beliefs and ideas and what they feel to be true. And I had different teachers. I think some of our religion classes were by semester, but I at least had four different religion teachers. So that's four different people. I mean, who are all practicing Catholic, because that was a prerequisite. I think you had to be practicing Catholic to teach religion just because, conflict of interest. But each of those four people had kind of different variations. One, I think, was a Reformed Catholic. So I had been explained to, by the other Catholics, like, oh, that's a born again Catholic. She's a little intense, things like that. But l- really learning about all of this stuff, learning about the Bible, learning about God from this perspective, it just like further reinforced the idea that this was a dogmatic thing. It was very strict. There were rules, and like not like the whole me not being able to take communion, like that came off as a little, like I get it, but like my underlying reptilian self is like, oh cool, I'm not included, like. And so when I'm trying to process this logically, I'm like, why is there a religion who says who can come and who can't come, and all of these things? And so just studying this stuff and really learning about what it was from a fundamental, textbook, literally textbook level, I was just like, this just doesn't make sense like with what I feel to be true, because I think in my brain I had rationalized, if there is a God, I don't think they would be evil, or I don't think that they would be excluding people or making rules, or and like the whole only men can be priests thing was weird too. And this isn't to like shit on Catholicism, because I respect everybody's right to practice what they believe to be true. I'm just sharing what was going through my brain as a brand new witness to the Catholic faith. And especially like I had taken, ironically, the reformed, like the, and I guess it's just like they 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 kind of stray away from the teachings and then come back and renew their vows, something like that. And the ironic part was that she was teaching our world religions class. So the way it like came off was, it was very isolating. It was very us versus them. Like I literally remember her saying those words, like just this language, just this creating this separation and almost this moral aspect to it. Like especially when we were talking about Judaism, especially when we were talking about Eastern philosophy. And I feel like that's a whole cultural, political conversation. But like, yeah, it was just weird. It was just weird because that kind of ingrained in my head, like, okay, these people are like judging other religions. And I'm like a teenager. I'm trying to make sense of the world around me. I'm trying to take all of this input in to realize, like, okay, this is what's going on. So like so many mixed signals. And and yeah, it was kind of just for like further reiterating to myself, like, okay, well, yeah, I don't believe God's real, because why would God be like this? Like, why? I don't, yeah, it was just weird. It was really weird. We took Bible classes. We did like a whole semester on the Old Testament, the New Testament. We took one like church history, world religions, Catholicism, and I don't really remember the other ones. But I mean, if you can imagine, like 4 years, maybe 8 different classes, it was a lot. It was a lot. So, yes, I kind of like was just doubling down. And not to mention the guy that I was dating in high school, he was a militant atheist. So, like, I didn't ever go to that extreme. Like, I wasn't angry at God or religion. I was just like, you don't make no sense, if that makes any sense. So, I think I was really intrigued in the world religions class when we had talked about Buddhism, because like I see it now that I'm older and know myself a lot better, but I was really stoked about this idea of balance. I think it was very unconscious, but like this idea that, well, maybe that came later, but just like the middle way. I think learning about, that kind of way of being. I mean, it wasn't like an in-depth class. It was literally like one chapter of a semester. But I think what really sold me into this kind of like, okay, it's not like we have to have a dogmatic religion. It can also be a philosophy situation. But it was this idea that everything was everything. Like it was all one. Everything was viewed as connected. And I think in a way that I had always been shown that religion was territorial and like isolating, this kind of showed me a different truth. And I think that was really fascinating to me. I think it was fascinating that, you don't really refer to Buddhism as a religion. I really liked that it was called a philosophy and that it wasn't I guess I mean and I guess I had started separating, this from religion, but I mean it would really probably more morph into like the differentiation between Western philosophy and Eastern philosophy, but I really started like getting excited about it. And let's see. I'm like trying to think about because there's like several timelines. So I think what happened was when I went to college, I had like kind of known about it, Buddhism from, high school, but I was still like not religious. And so I had taken a yoga class because I needed to fulfill my extracurricular credits. And I was majoring in psychology and I was studying neuroscience, and something in me started clicking. And I think it was because learning about yoga, learning about the history and the context and that side of it, something started shifting because I thought I wanted to work with drugs and alcohol. I was really interested in like the chemistry of that and how it affects behavior and like what's happening on a chemical level. Well, I remember at some point I started like getting into mindfulness. And I was like trying to figure out what grad school I was going to go to, what grad schools had programs where they were practicing these things, like how do you even quantify these topics and these ideas? And that's when I started really getting into like I don't really remember when I read The Power of Now, but I know I was reading I do remember getting this book called The Practical Neuroscience of Buddhism, and I've talked about it on the Patreon. I might have talked about it here too, but it was fucking fascinating. It's like literally they have, the Buddhist ideas. Basically, like if Buddhism had been outlined for a well thought out research paper, kind of. And they also had the physiology. So it was like making me tingly. Like it had all the brain structures. It's got all of these science heavy, dense words because it's like essentially like a research backed book. And I was just getting so excited about this kind of like intersection between like figuring out how to, or I guess talking about this spiritual immaterial experience and ideas, but also connecting it to these real tangible brain structures. And like I was just looking for like all these grad programs and I was like, ooh, who can I find? Like what can I find that would be perfect for me? And like I just really didn't that's a separate conversation and I've shared kind of my story with grad school, but I feel like there just wasn't a program for what I wanted to study. I still didn't really know what I wanted to study. I think that was the hard part, which is probably also why I didn't end up going to grad school. But with all of these books in my library now, like I'm just reading about Buddhism and reading about this idea of our ego and this part of us that is part of this human experience that we all navigate that contributes to our universal suffering. And reading more about this idea that we are everything. There actually is no duality. Duality is an illusion, which is fucking trippy. But just like it was like ticking off all the boxes in my like spiritualness. That I think that really I just felt seen and I felt like it wasn't just me suffering. Like I felt like we were in this together. And started reading about or I think I just said that, reading Eckhart Tolle, reading just more books about Thich Nhat Hanh, like just more of these things. I remember finding, dude, and I fucking flipped my shit, this book called Awake at Work, and I need to get another copy. But it's like how to apply these ideas, this philosophy, Buddhist philosophy, to navigating life, navigating work, navigating these really challenging experiences like a bully colleague or work that's unfulfilled, just like almost like, hey, here's your problem, here's what our solution is. And just, I was obsessed with it. And that really helped me. I mean, I also had a manager that was like helping, that was a practicing Buddhist. So it was like, it was just a really cool energy to kind of like get back into. So yes, going down the self-help meets Buddhism meets spirituality kind of uh direction. And like I said, I was really into mindfulness. I was just really, it was just so new. It was just so, my freaking Gemini moon Virgo rising self never fucking stopped thinking. So like the idea that I wasn't this fucking hamster wheel was crazy. It was just cool getting to, learn about something that believed in this idea that we were all one, and then also in the same vein, we were all nothing, like what? But it was just fascinating. And like my kind of like rational atheist self was turning into this still rational because I was still seeing, the science and the logical evidence that was keeping these spiritual ideas grounded. And I was kind of morphing into this like, well, I'm kind of open to the idea. I think what was also really cool about Buddhism was that there wasn't like this one central person. I think in my experience learning about religion was like, okay, here's us and then here's God, Like I found it really empowering that we were all one. Like there was no separation. We are all this like this beautiful like energy just like put together. And it was also empowering like to realize, and I can't remember if this is like specifically through Buddhism. I mean, I guess through logic, but I really find a lot of strength and empowerment through the idea that we, and like this is getting into like wild, maybe physics slash, I don't even know what realm this is in, very spiritual. But yeah, this idea that we have basically everything in the universe is also contained within us, which also is like saying that we have the universe inside of us. Like we in turn are God, or whatever that means. It's just, I mean, I don't really know what else to say other than it just, I'm speechless. Like that makes me feel so good, so supported, so loved, so held, And that's where I am with this whole kind of like spiritual, whatever I identify with as, if it's even anything, but it's just amazing. Like now I know what people are saying when they're like, "Oh yeah, God created all this beauty." Like because before I was like, no, this beauty just created this beauty. Have you ever heard of evolution?" But I'm learning that there's a little bit of room for both, like Yeah, I don't really even know what words to say just because there's no words. Like it's just like, whoa. I don't even This is kind of when we start getting into the capacity, well, the lack of capacity of, the consciousness to even understand, to fathom, to be able to put this infinite, omniscient like energy into words, because you can't describe infinity other than like, yeah, it never fucking stops. Getting into this idea really started bringing in this topic of faith. And I don't really know what I guess I did not know what faith was, because I didn't grow up with any religious influence. So I didn't know faith in what, like faith in myself. And I know I used to have that perspective, like I don't have anyone to thank for anything except myself, because I'm the one who's gotten me through this. But it's like, as I've explored and gotten older, it's like, because I'm not alone in this, like whether the force that's bigger than me has, you know, a person attached to it, or if it's just an energy, if it even has sentience, I mean, it's like omniscience, like it literally is everything, it feels everything. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, I've had to kind of learn what faith is. And I've also found that it really has helped me find peace, because I guess before, when I was operating under the idea of like, I'm in this on my own, I don't really, there's support missing. Like, when you're on your own and you don't feel like you have support, then you're just like pissed off, working towards whatever. And, that's where you're at. But this idea that there is something supporting you and there is something guiding you, whether that's nature or intelligence or whoever, it just, doing life feeling supported feels incredible. And I know that's something that is a privilege to be able to experience. And I am more than grateful to have this experience. But I do know that because this is something that we all universally experience as humans, that we can all find this faith and find this security and this comfort. We all have the capacity to experience this magic and experience this love and experience this connection. And I think that it literally transcends all boundaries and all limitations that we could ever imagine or set for ourselves. I just wanted to share this journey because it's been so powerful for me, and I really do believe that learning to acknowledge this connection in this relationship and build this idea of faith in my life has really just like strengthened things. Like, I used to be so critical of myself and so hurtful towards myself and so sad, and the more I got into like why is like feeling like I never grew up with this knowing that I was created with intention and created from love, that I am beautiful and powerful and awesome just because I am and I am born and I exist. And I never grew up realizing that. And so really, really, really starting to integrate that into my life, I just, the criticism that ego, it kind of like fades away into the background because I know that I was created, Christians say in God's image, but in whatever whatever I identify as or align with, I I believe I was created by whatever this infinity is. I I've been created from that. So therefore I have a part of that within me because I am a smaller piece of the bigger puzzle. And it's just fascinating because when I can also recognize that I am whole and complete and awesome, and I'm experiencing, finite, but I am also forever. And really really getting into spirituality and exploring that relationship with my higher power or my existence and what I believe to be true has really helped me love myself and know that, I don't know, there's something. And like going back to the whole thing, like we don't have the consciousness as humans to be able to understand what the fuck the purpose is or what's actually going on. And, I have to surrender to that. But it's just something that I've never experienced in my life. And I just wanted to share it. And I just wanted to share how, here's an experience, an instance where someone who firmly did not believe in God found what worked for them and found this direction that provided love and comfort and all of these things that, religion claims to create. And like I said earlier, I respect everybody and their right to practice whatever resonates with them. I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh, yeah, just this idea that I think something that organized religion always, or it's something that I remember about organized religion is that this is like this is like trying to translate this individual unique experience with our creator. This is trying to translate this mass on a mass scale. And and I mean, we're human. Like, Christians believe it's original sin. I believe that we're just infallible humans with human tendencies. And so it's not right that, religion gets corrupt and God gets, whole smear campaign. I guess I'm just trying to explain. Like, I used to, blame religion and blame whatever I could, but like, we're human. People are going to make mistakes. Like, things are going to get mistranslated. Yeah, I think it's fucked up, that people get murdered and killed in the name of God. And like, this could literally be like a forever long discussion, but it took me, I mean, growing up and wisdom to realize that, people are just trying to get along, figure out what the fuck's going on, like just like we all are. It's just, yeah, I'm somehow learning to have compassion for religions in whatever capacity I can. I don't really know where I'm at or what that means right now, but I appreciate you listening and I appreciate you supporting me. I hope that this maybe provided some comfort, maybe some guidance, maybe some wisdom that will help you, or just, a funny anecdote for you to listen to and stand firm in your truth, and just know that we are each all having our own funny anecdotes and it's all about love, you know? What else? Yeah, I think that's it. I love y'all so much. I'm so grateful for you. I didn't mention at the beginning, but I am ending my Patreon at the end of the month. So what's the day? Maybe Tuesday? Does anybody know? Oh yeah, Tuesday's the last day. If you are in there to get your bennies, I'm finishing up the postcards. I'm like hand designing them this month. And I'm so thankful to everybody who's subscribed. The Patreon is going to still be up. It's just going to turn into a kind of donation only situation. If you want to support me and you have the financial means, I am a creator at the beginning of their creator journey. And so money is always something that I am looking to use to, get bigger and better things, get a podcast set up, get my business started, all of these things. So the Patreon is still live and we'll just go to $5 a month. And the link is in the show notes. What else? You can also follow me on TikTok. I kind of feel like, don't tell Instagram or Facebook, but I think I'm kind of like making the transition over there. I'm still trying to figure out, how to do both, but for now, you get the best content. It's on TikTok. So, thanks again for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Let me know what you think. Don't forget, you can leave a review in iTunes and let me know what you think about the podcast. This is Madeline with Embrace the Madness, and I will talk to you later.